Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back here doing another episode review for this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead that aired yesterday. Everybody, the season finale entitled Wrath and North, which was season 2, episode 14 and season 2, episode 15. That is right, everybody. It was a 2-hour season finale, and man, oh man, was it good. It was some of the best television that I've seen in quite some time. Now, I'm talking throughout the summer, I haven't really seen too much TV. A lot of the shows that I watch have been off. So this right here was one of the best episodes, I guess 2 of them, that I've seen in quite some time. They were incredible. I loved both episodes pretty much equally. The last one was a little more intense just because everything was breaking down. Shit was happening, essentially. And just to let you guys know real quickly, guys, my reviews do contain spoilers. So if you guys have not caught up to this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, or episodes in this case, make sure you guys go watch them and then come back to watch this video. So they were not only 2 of the best episodes of television that I've watched in a long, long time, but it's 2 of the best episodes of Season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead. Now, there has been good episodes in Season 2 of Fear the Walking Dead, as well as in Season 1, but this tops it all. I'm telling you guys, this was an insane episode. So if you guys have lost interest in the show, up until now, make sure you guys check out these episodes, because this will probably turn, I don't know how to say, turn your opinion on it, because it was just incredible. There's no other way to put it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the review. Alright, so Season 2, Episode 14, entitled Wrath, starts off actually with a sneak peek that we've seen for this week's episode, which was Ophelia. Basically, her truck broke down, and we get to see her in a badass opening fighting sequence, and it was amazing seeing Ophelia kick ass. It was really cool, guys. So her truck broke down. Basically, she got ambushed by some zombies. I thought it was a really cool scene because we just got to see all of her skills come in action. She took down, I think, a total of maybe 5. I want to say 5. If it wasn't 5, it was 4. But nonetheless, regardless of the amount of zombies, the way she took them out, in the order that she took them out, and how fast she took them out in, was just really impressive. She's come that far as a survivor, and we sort of got blindsided by it. We didn't really see that development coming. It wasn't really happening in her character up until she just started doing it. Anyways, at the end of that sequence, she actually sees a herd coming, so she grabs all of her gear and actually heads out on foot. She flees the truck, she leaves the truck behind. She can't obviously repair it in time for the herd coming, and she just gets the heck out of there. Alright, so just to let you guys know briefly, I'm not going to go over everything in detail. I'm going to go over the important parts of the episodes, and for the rest of it, guys, you guys can watch it on your own if you haven't already. So we get to see Nick actually fleeing, leaving his bed with Luciana and meeting Reynaldo. Alright, they basically skulk into the infirmary, and they basically steal the oxy that they need to deliver to Marco, because they don't want the Colonia to obviously get attacked, right? That was the plan since the last episode that we saw Nick in, and now he's delivering that plan. Next, we get to see Alicia and Travis basically, I want to say bond, but not really. They sort of just caught up, if you will. And Travis apologizes for not believing Alicia, when Alicia told him that Chris was basically threatening her. He was dangerous, and he basically apologizes to Alicia for not believing her, believing? I don't know. For not believing her, I guess, nonetheless, and basically just apologizes for that and said that, I should have protected you more. I should have done more to protect you. I'm sorry, my son is sick. He basically acknowledges that, and that's where that scene ends right there. Alright, so back with Nick, we have Nick actually going to the food mart, obviously where Marco's held up, and Marco basically explains to him that he no longer needs their supply because he actually has another supply. So instead, he suggests Nick that him and his people get out of the Colonia while they still can before they attack. Madison now checks in with Alicia, who is taking care of survivors at the parking garage. Alicia expresses her disdain for Brandon and Derek, obviously the ones that had just arrived. We know that they were the ones that were with Chris when we last seen Chris, and they're basically loudly just being obnoxious, if you will, saying that the Mexicans stink and, all that crap, and basically complaining nonstop about Brandon's dislocated shoulder. Madison goes over to Brandon and Derek and basically tries to calm them down, tries to obviously lower their voices, just calm them down in general. And she asks what happened and learns that Brandon hurt his shoulder in a car accident after they let their 16-year-old companion, which was a kid from LA, drive without a license. And they basically say that the driver died in the accident. And Madison basically thinks, for a second that it must have been Chris. Because, Chris, he's 16 years old. He's from LA. He was last seen with two guys named Brandon and Derek. They were both obnoxious. We can jump to the conclusion that Travis probably told Madison about those kids. And Madison basically deduces, that they're the men that joined up with Chris. Alright, so Madison panics, actually goes to tell Strand about it. He gives her some advice, basically saying, do you really want to tell Travis about this? Because he's already broken now. This would probably kill him. And she agrees, She basically says, yeah, he's already broken now. This will kill him if I tell him. He's not going to want to go on if I tell him that Chris is now dead. Alright, so the rest of the episode here in brief form, basically Nick, Alejandro, and Luciana are arguing inside of the medical ward, alright? And as they're arguing, or discussing, I guess, of what they're going to do, the conversation gets interrupted by a survivor that has turned, basically. He's no longer surviving. It was one of the med patients, in that room. He obviously turned. He died in his sleep or, something. And he turned. He got up and basically ended up biting Alejandro on his arm. But he's good, right? He's gotten bit on the neck before. He's good. He's good. He doesn't turn from walker bites. Yeah, fat chance. But anyway, they fight off the walker. The walker ends up going over a railing and ended up biting the nose off of another guy, which was a really cool scene. I thought it was great. I don't know, call me sadistic if you will, but I thought it was great. I thought it was an amazing, makeup job. I thought it was awesome when he pulled the nose right off the guy. It was super sick, if you will. And all the while, Nick looking up at Alejandro, noticing that Alejandro has been bitten, and Alejandro is scared shitless. Alright, so in the parking garage now, Madison goes back down to Brandon and Derek, basically saying that they're going to get his shoulder fixed. But instead of doing that, they plan on escorting him out of the community there at the hotel, so they actually end up escorting him out so that Travis doesn't actually end up seeing them, right? They want to keep Travis sort of on the low end of things because she doesn't want him to freak out. She doesn't want him to know that Chris is dead. Basically, Strand pointed out, that if Travis has that hope of Chris still being alive and, maybe he'd see him sometime in the future, then that wouldn't completely break him, I guess. You know what I mean? It makes sense if you think about it. So, nonetheless, they plan on escorting him out. Travis basically sees that happening, runs down before they get escorted out, and essentially asks, where his son is, right? He sees the guys there, he asks where his son is, and then they end up going to a room inside of the hotel, and begin their interrogation, I guess, if you will. There. Back at the Colonia now, Nick packs a bag in his trailer and basically tells his girlfriend, Luciana, to come with them. They need to leave. And basically she's wondering why. Alejandro now stops by and Nick orders Alejandro to tell Luciana his secret. Alright? And Alejandro admits that he is not immune to infected bites. Basically explains that the bite on his neck came from a boy that he was trying to save and not from an infected. So all the time he was lying about Faith saving his life, He didn't get bit by a walker. He got bitten by a boy that was not turned yet. So that's why he didn't turn into a walker himself. It goes without saying, you know what I mean? I sort of saw that coming. I don't know if any of you guys actually thought that he was completely immune, in the Walking Dead world. That just doesn't happen. So to be honest, I'm glad we got that cleared up because I like the Walking Dead universe with basically no hope. You know what I mean? No hope of anybody being immune to that virus. No hope of there being a cure or anything like that. I prefer it much more gritty. And it looks like that's the way it's staying with Fear the Walking Dead as well as The Walking Dead. Luciana now basically tells Alejandro that he's dead to her and ends up actually wanting to stay at the Colonia anyway because it's not just about Alejandro and his faith, it's because of the people that are there at the Colonia. She doesn't want to abandon everybody. That's her home, and that's why she wants to stay. It makes sense, why she wants to stay, but at the same time, those other guys are coming to basically slaughter everybody in that Colonia. And there's not a damn thing that they could probably do about it. Ophelia now actually crosses the border into America. She actually sees like a hole in the fence, so she goes through that and ends up in the desert and ducks for cover when someone starts shooting at her. So she ducks behind a tree, and a man with a rifle finds her hiding behind the tree, and he says, "Welcome to America." And that is the last time that we see Ophelia this season. Alright, so she did make it to America. We do know that there's obviously survivors there, of course, and I'm not exactly sure who was shooting at her. I mean, I obviously take it was the man. He had a rifle on him, so I think it was the man who was shooting at her, but, who does he work for? Is he, Border Patrol, or is he, I have no idea who he could be. Maybe just an American. I have no idea. Alright, so we don't know who's shooting at her, but it was a man, and he said, "Welcome to America." So I don't think he's going to be too hostile, but he's probably just sort of something like, shoot first, ask questions later. He might have thought that she was a walker. I don't know if he's bad or not. We'll have to wait and find out for that. All right, so Travis and Madison take Brandon and Derek to the Hotel Cafe, which is the room I was talking about. And after Andreas fixes Brandon's arm, Travis interrogates them about Chris. And they basically explain that they were tired from avoiding bandits, and Chris offered to drive the truck so that they could actually catch up on some sleep. When he veered off the road, the truck rolled, Chris was thrown from the truck, and died on impact. Alright, so that was their original story. Alright, and this is where the episode really gets good. This is where we get to see Travis basically break down and release all of his inner anger. This is where we get to see Travis really develop as a survivor. Now, I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do all the time, right? But up until now, let's be honest, Travis has been a bit of a pussy. All right, we're gonna breeze by that right now. We'll just say it outright. He's been a bit of a pussy. So remember, Brandon told Travis that Chris was thrown from the truck through the windshield. All right, that's what he told him originally. Travis asks where Chris was buried, and Derek says that they pulled him from the wreck and buried him under a tree. Travis basically notices the discrepancies, between the two stories, pulled from the truck and buried under the tree, and Brandon's story was that he got thrown from the truck through the windshield. So which is it? Basically, he puts two and two together, and he locks Madison and Oscar out of the cafe and begins to get physical with Brandon and Derek, basically demanding the truth, okay? Because he knows that those two guys basically put anybody out of their misery if they get hurt. They already put their best friend James out of his misery just because he had a leg wound, a gunshot to the leg. They literally could have waited. And anyway, Brandon admits that Chris survived the wreck but suffered a leg injury, and all the while, all these scenarios are going through Travis's head. We actually get to see him from his perspective, and we actually get to see Chris going through these car crashes and these different perspectives, and I thought it was great. I thought it was a great idea for them to do that. I thought it was really cool, to show us how Chris actually died. Technically, the death scenes that we've seen were only from Travis's mind, them playing through the mind from the information that he's given, right? So we don't technically really get to see Chris die, but this is all the stories that were being told. Basically, he said that Chris survived the wreck, but he suffered a leg injury, so they shot him dead in the road. And he basically pleads, "We had to," and now this is where Travis snaps. He savagely beats Brandon and Derek to death, smashing heads and breaking limbs. And it's just, it's a crazy scene, guys. You just have to go watch it for yourself. It was absolutely incredible. Wow. It was such a good scene for Travis, guys. It really was. I love, his character developing in this way. I thought it was great. He's really badass now. And I hope that he doesn't just cower behind something again. You know what I mean? I hope that he continues this badassery. Now, I'm not saying be like the governor or Negan and just go bash the heads in of, anybody, right? But I'm glad that he finally snapped. And he's doing something now. He's taking initiative, He's giving people what they deserve, I guess, if you will. So he basically put him through the most brutal beating that, personally, I think that we've actually seen on TV before. Because with The Walking Dead, there have been beatings, there have been killings, but it's always usually pretty sudden. You know what I mean? There's no beatings that really take that long, and he just went through it, man. He threw people through glass windows, he just absolutely savagely smashed them in the head with his fist, and then at the end of it all, he basically smashed in their heads just with his boot, and it was such a sick scene. It was a savage scene, and again, you have to go see it for yourself. And after he is done with the beating, he basically goes against the wall, sinks to the floor, and is basically devastated by the fact that he just lost his son, basically for sure at this point, because, I mean, he just told him the story. And it's just a heartbreaking scene for Travis. And that concludes the end of the first episode there for the 2-hour season finale of Fear the Walking Dead. Now we're moving on to Season 2, Episode 15, which is indeed the final, I guess, season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, which is entitled North. Alright, and it basically resumes the exact same scene that we left off at, which was Travis sitting dazed on the floor of the hotel cafe. Basically, after killing Brandon and Derek, Hector and Elena now haul Travis away and remove Oscar, which, by the way, who is unconscious after Travis attacked him to prevent him from interfering. Basically, they got the key to the room, and as he stuck his head in, Oscar, as he stuck his head in the door to obviously try to get Travis to stop, he slammed his head basically against the door and the door frame and knocked him out, like unconscious, and it is not good for Oscar. You know what I mean? He got screwed up pretty badly when Travis did what he did. Now, it was in the heat of the moment. Travis obviously didn't mean to, really attack Oscar there. He just wanted to get his revenge. All right, rightfully so. No one should have really intervened. And in my personal opinion, I personally think that it's Oscar's fault, for actually getting in there. Now, with that being said, I think it's more Madison's fault than Oscar's, because Madison was one basically saying, get the key, get in there, stop him now before he does, whatever, right? Personally, I would have let him just do what he did. These two people are complete assholes, and I'm pretty sure everybody would have understood. They basically got his son killed. Who wouldn't want revenge because of that? So Elena and Hector actually end up hauling Travis away, explaining that he's killed 2 men and obviously injured one of their own. And Madison, again, she tries to defend Travis, but they ended up hauling him away anyway, locking him up. Basically saying, it was Madison's rule in the first place. Anybody who raises a hand to another is gone, basically gets exiled from that community, and that's exactly what they're planning on doing with Travis. Madison returns to the cafe and stabs Brandon and Derek through the head to obviously prevent them from turning. Actually, Brandon did turn pretty quickly, but obviously he got stabbed anyways. Alright, so another part of this episode, which is obviously key, is the fact that Alicia and Madison are basically deciding to leave the community there at the hotel with Travis, because they don't obviously want to abandon him. Actually, Alicia's the one who brought it up first. They don't want to abandon Travis. They don't want to leave him on his own out there. They don't want to let him die on his own. And Alicia is actually, again, she's the one that spoke up first. So they're actually ending up, planning on leaving with Travis, leaving that hotel, and leaving just the whole community in general. So that is what Madison relays to Elena, saying that they will leave with Travis in the morning, and asks her to release Travis from captivity. And Elena feels that she owes Madison and allows it, basically despite Hector's reluctance. He doesn't want to release him. He's obviously, he thinks that he's dangerous, and rightfully so, but at the same time, Madison sort of did the exact same thing, for them. Saved their lives, stuff like that. And again, Elena thinks that she owes Madison, so she does this for her. Madison enters the game room where Travis is now being locked up and tells him that she and Alicia will leave with him in the morning. And again, Travis is reluctant to do that. He doesn't want to, really jeopardize their safety there at the hotel for him basically raging and not getting the best of him. But he basically accepts it in the end. And they head out of the game room and actually end up going up to their room up in the hotel. Another thing that I thought was interesting was we actually get to see, who was it? Andreas, I guess, treating Oscar, who his brother, who is still unconscious, the one that Travis injured, and Alicia actually offers to help. And he tells her that he must remove a piece of Oscar's skull to reduce swelling on the brain, and he orders her to leave. And then we actually get to see him actually drill into his brain, and it's just, it was a gruesome scene. We get to see the bone, drilling out, and it was just, again, gruesome scene, but really cool scene at the same time. I thought it was great. I thought it was a really interesting, part of the episode. Obviously has nothing to do with zombies, but again, it's another survival aspect to a zombie apocalypse show, and I thought it was really interesting. So hopefully you guys thought that was as well. Alejandro now, per Luciana's request, goes out to the townspeople as he's still dying, can barely walk or anything like that, but he goes to the townspeople and basically explains to them that men are coming to kill them, but their faith will protect them. Quote unquote, we will not die today. Meanwhile, Nick leaves the Colonia. As he walks down a Tijuana road, smeared with the infected's blood, he spots a helicopter landing in the near distance. So, just across the border, he actually sees a helicopter landing. Obviously, there's some sort of a refugee camp out there. Something's going on out there. There's a helicopter, and, he obviously sees safety there. So, he actually ends up going back to the Colonia. That night now, Madison joins Travis on the balcony of their hotel room and assures him that Brandon and Derek deserve their fate, and basically says that she too has killed somebody, which was Celia, back in season 2, I want to say episode 7, at the end of episode 7, when she killed Celia by locking her inside that cell with all of the walkers, basically to protect Nick. So she basically explains to Travis, that they're sort of the same now. They've both taken somebody's life. He's not innocent and she's not innocent either. They're pretty much equal. Back down at the operating table now with Oscar. He dies on the operating table, unfortunately, and Andreas slams his fist in anger. Hector sees and basically rants to Elena that Travis is safe and sound upstairs. Meanwhile, we're down here losing one of our own. Elena reminds him that they made a deal with Madison, and Hector and Andreas now barge into Travis's room and beat him. Alright, so Andreas now holds a gun to Travis's head, and just as he's about to pull that trigger, Alicia actually ends up stabbing Andreas in the chest. So now Alicia has taken a human life. Alright, so I guess none of them are innocent at this point, but Alicia did what she needed to do to protect Travis. Alright, so Alicia stabbed him, and basically a melee ensues. Travis, tackles one of the wall, tries to fight most of them off. Strand actually ends up grabbing Andreas's gun off of the floor and orders everyone out, and basically tells Travis, Madison, and Alicia that we need to run now. So now with Travis, Madison, and Alicia, they pile into a car outside of the hotel. Strand gives the gun to Madison and stays behind, saying that I will be okay. Now, this was a part of the episode that I didn't really know, what was going through Strand's mind. What is he going to do? I know that he wanted to stay at the hotel because he earlier explained to Madison that he wasn't going to come with, Madison and Alicia with Travis because they were all going to be exiled from the community. They were all going to leave together. Strand didn't want to, but he held a gun to the people's heads in the hotel room. You know what I mean? So he's sort of connected to that now. So what's going to happen there with Strand? I don't know why he didn't leave. It didn't really make too much sense to me. But, I guess he could just claim that he was trying to defend himself. But again, I just don't know why he didn't leave with him. I guess maybe he's tired of running. But at the same time, I feel like he's probably going to be in a little bit of trouble there at the hotel. But at the same time, next season, I think Strand being at that hotel will obviously connect us with the remainder of that group at the hotel a little more than, just randomly putting them in. At least we have a character that we know and that we love, or at least I do. I love Strand. I think that he's a great character. We have a character there, at the hotel with everybody else that we are still probably going to be interested in seeing just because of the sheer aftermath of it all. And this was a scene that we seen in the promo, basically, of Travis, Madison, and Alicia in a truck just driving right through the front gate of the hotel. So now, not only is the hotel, unsafe for Strand because of the people that he's staying there with, he stayed there with everybody that he held a gun to, but now the gates of the hotel are damaged. They plowed right through the gates, so walkers can get through now. Am I not right on that aspect, or are they going to just hide in the hotel? I have no idea, what Strand again was thinking there. I don't know why he stayed, but I hope that he has an ulterior motive that maybe we don't know about, because I don't want to see Strand, just off on his own and just on this journey just like Nick is right now, because we're all hoping that Nick and his family eventually get back together, right? That's the plan. All right, that's what we're all hoping for. But, I don't want to see Strand, get separated either, because, again, I love that character. He's actually one of my favorite characters on the show. And with that being said, I didn't really want to see him, separated from the main group, because it's probably going to hurt the character a little more. Or, it could grow at the same time. Him being solo for a little while definitely could help. Again, Nick returns to the Colonia and goes to Alejandro in his trailer, and he basically tells Alejandro that he saw a medevac helicopter land in camp near the border, and urges Alejandro to give the villagers permission to flee the Colonia. He wants them to flee the Colonia because those guys are coming to kill him, coming to slaughter them, and he wants everybody to have a chance to live. And Nick basically says that he and Luciana can lead the villagers north. Madison and Travis now go to El Pelicano, which is basically the food mart, to look for Nick, because that's where, not Travis, but that's where Madison actually last heard of Nick, when Marco was talking about him upstairs in that interrogation room. And they discover the bodies of Francisco's family in the back of the empty market, bullet wounds through their heads, including the child, which, by the way, was a dark scene. We've seen it before. but wow. They find Francisco's driver's license with his Colonia address. The next day now, Marco and his gang arrive at the Colonia and shoot the infected in the fenced yard before entering the premises. Marco's gang finds the town deserted and celebrates for their easy victory. So they did invade the Colonia, alright, but everybody's gone, so Alejandro obviously gave them permission to leave, right? Alejandro now actually watches from a hiding spot and then goes to the school bus in the yard and he starts the bus up. And Marco hears the sound of the bus and runs towards the yard, but is obviously too late. Alejandro drives the bus forward and basically gets all the walkers that were behind the bus. The bus was blocking off an exit into that gate yard area. And essentially what that does is open up that entire yard area of walkers into the town. Alright, so he basically just released walkers into the town on top of Marco and his gang. Now with Nick and Luciana, we get to see them lead the villagers towards the US border. Madison, Travis, and Alicia now arrive at the Colonia, and Madison and Travis go into the village, and Alicia stays behind in the yard and actually notices the stalled school bus. So Madison and Travis go into the village, notice that everybody's dead. There's so many infected in there. And what timing, too. Madison and Travis to get at that Colonia right after Nick left. Wow. Wow. They're literally right on their tails. You know what I mean? It was sort of like Morgan chasing Rick's group around. In the town square now, Travis and Madison again encounter a large herd of infected, which now include Marco's gang. Madison and Travis now find Alicia on the bus, tending to the dying Alejandro. Madison tells Alejandro that she's looking for Nick, obviously her son, and Alejandro says that Nick went to the border, and that was basically with his dying breath, essentially. He went to the border, and he said that he saw something, and that's when he took his last breath. Alright, so now Nick and Luciana and the villagers arrive at the border crossing, and a plume of smoke rises in the distance, and through binoculars, Nick sees the medevac helicopter leaving a refugee camp. Now, a gunman suddenly pops up from behind a car, and Luciana is actually shot in the arm, I believe. So it's not really nothing major there or anything like that. This is basically a group guarding the crossing, opens fire on all of the villagers and Nick and everybody, and Nick and Luciana hide behind a booth, but are basically captured by one of the attackers. Alright, so Nick obviously grabbed her, trying to, see what her bullet wound was, if it was, serious or anything like that. All the rest of the villagers actually ended up fleeing, a couple of them dying as well. So that is definitely unfortunate. They did make it to the border, but this is obviously Border Patrol. So, they could have told them to get down, but at the same time, I sort of understood why they shot, because the villagers, some of them actually were armed, with rifles and shotguns, and you know what I mean? It was a threat. I get it. On the bus now, Alicia hands Madison a knife, and Madison closes Alejandro's eyes, turns his head to the side, and drives in the blade, basically killing him, before he turns into an infected walker. It goes without saying. That's exactly what she did. And back at the border crossing, we see the armed men separate Nick and Luciana, and they shove them and kick them to the ground. Now, they're not shooting, I guess, on sight. They notice that they're not a threat anymore, so I am happy about that. They're just not straight savages. They're just protecting, I guess, what's theirs, right? I understand it, okay? But that raises the question, what the heck is going to happen? Because that was the end of the episode, and that was the end of Season 2. Again, insane episodes, guys. One of the best 2 episodes that I've seen, not only of Fear the Walking Dead, but of TV in quite some time, at least since The Walking Dead went off air. Alright, so these 2 episodes were absolutely insane. If you guys didn't see them, if you guys have lost interest in Fear the Walking Dead, I'm telling you guys right now, you have to go watch these 2 episodes, because they are damn worth it. Alright, I am giving you my word. You will like these episodes. If you like The Walking Dead in any way, shape, or form, these 2 episodes are the 2 episodes for you. Now, with that being said, that is the end of Season 2. That is the finale. Alright, everybody, that was my episode reviews. It was a bit long, it was 2 episodes. I did what I could. I tried to, obviously, compress it down quite a lot, and, I did what I could. That was 2 episode reviews in one. That was probably the longest one I've ever done. So hopefully you guys did appreciate it and enjoy it nonetheless. And if you guys did, feel free to smash that like button up, guys. It really does help out the channel a lot. And of course, I am primarily a gaming channel, so if you guys like gaming, feel free to check out all of my other videos. I put tons of work and tons of effort into every single one of them, and for you guys to go ahead and show some love on those ones would be absolutely insane. I don't know if you heard that in the background. I don't know what that was. I'm going to have to go check it out. But nonetheless, again, thank you all so much for the support lately. It's been absolutely insane. Let's try to get to 10 likes on this video. It would really help out a lot. And links to my social media and everything like that is in the description below if you feel like, obviously, following me on any of that. And with that being said, episode reviews and predictions are done for Fear the Walking Dead, and predictions will start back up for The Walking Dead on October the 20th. So, I mean, we're close. We have a couple weeks off, and hopefully we will enjoy that of just non-stop gaming content until October 20th, because we are only 3 weeks away from The Walking Dead. Actually, less than 3 weeks away from The Walking Dead, which is just insane, guys. I can't believe we're so close. And, yeah, I'll see you guys then. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you all so much for 2,000 subscribers. All right, guys, we just hit it. It's absolutely insane. We're actually at 2,001 right now, so definitely go smash that like button just for that. All right, let's see how many of you guys are active and actually care about some of my videos.